Hey, I'm Warren Sprouse, and you are here tonight. It's Sunday night, 8 o'clock Eastern, and it is time for the Bible Forum. We're going to be spending the next couple of hours together looking at life through a biblical lens and generally solving all the world's problems in 2 hours or less. There are a number of issues that have come up in our world this week that bear on our faith, bear on the Word of God. I want to share some of those with you. We have some other topics down the way, some more involved kinds of things. But I want you to understand in a very quick way what's happening in our world, what's happening in our culture. Over the last several months, I've mentioned some of these movie stars and singers and people that are in the public eye, especially those that are telling us that they are born-again Christians. And it wasn't that long ago, maybe just a couple of weeks ago, that we read in the paper how that Justin Bieber, you know Justin Bieber, he's a heartthrob, he was hanging out with his Hillsong pastor in a bar, gulping down adult beverages somewhere in Australia, I believe. I'm not sure, maybe in New York. Well, now the headline this week, blazoned across the top of the article, was Bieber's newfound faith. Justin Bieber is being credited with discovering a new faith. Well, not really. The headline declares that he has a newfound faith, and that's a little bit different, but only a little. In his newfound faith, he has unfriended a friend of his, a boxer by the name of Floyd Mayweather. And Floyd Mayweather, they had a fight last night. That was not him and Mayweather, but Mayweather and some other guy had a fight, and I forgot how that came out. It was very interesting. But Floyd Mayweather is upset. I mean, there's pictures of him online. He's screaming at this guy. He's incensed. At least that's what the media calls it. And he's calling Mr. Bieber all sorts of nasty names. Now, for his part, Bieber continues to tout his new faith as that of a born-again Christian, and he credits his his pastor, for showing him the way. And in order to cleanse himself in some respect, I suppose, he went through his Twitter and his Facebook or whatever, and he started unfriending all of these people that are way over here someplace. Welcome to the new age of Christianity in the world. It's weird. A Chambersburg, Pennsylvania couple told a TV station recently, WPMT, that they were never very religious. Nevertheless, as the woman in this relationship, I don't want to call her his wife because they're not listed that way. They each have their own name, and it doesn't say that they're married, and that's kind of the new thing, today. But the woman is with child, not the first time in this relationship. And as it works, you go and you get the sonogram, and it shows the baby and helps the doctor understand just where everything is and if it's progressing. I have a new great-grandchild, a little girl, has had her picture taken recently. Mommy's about, 5 months into it. She's due in December, whatever that means. And this is the time when all of this happens. But in this particular case, it was very unique because, and they showed the sonogram in the article, if you look at the sonogram, apparently you can see the face of the Lord Jesus Christ. There's a man in this sonogram that appears dressed in a robe with a crown of thorns looking right at this baby. Now the father says this is distinct. I mean, he says, there's another face looking at my daughter. And the mother, she's having babies with Mr. Smith and finding what the article calls a measure of peace and comfort in this situation. Seems their first two pregnancies had complications. The first child was born with an extra digit on one hand, a thumb as it turned out, and the second child's birth almost killed the mother, and the child was then born with a cleft lip and palate and I guess some other issues. Now, the station, the radio or TV station, whatever it is, said that after everything that's transpired, the couple's thinking about going to church. How about that? Did I mention it doesn't say anywhere they're married? Either that or mom has just kept her maiden name. People do that today. But, you see the face of Jesus in your uterus, you kind of think about going to church? Welcome to our brave new world. Did you see this past week about the lady up in, I think it was in Massachusetts, who won the lottery, the $758.7 million? Nah, she's not going to get all of that. The government gets just about half. But wisely, these people are taking the lump sum, because you know how this works. If you get $1 million a year for the next 758 years, you're not going to live long enough, and maybe the state will go bankrupt. I mean, who knows? So they take the money. It's a 53-year-old mother with 2 adult children. She plans to retire from her job of 32 years. I think I would too. And she says, I'm going to hide in my bed for a while. Now, were it me, I would sell my house and I would move somewhere. I would not buy, I would rent. You buy, it goes in the paper, people will find you. I would change my phone number and my email. I would take everything down. I would just go into hibernation for the first 5 years. Neighbors and friends and family members you never heard of crawl out of the woodwork, and it never turns out well. But lottery winners are not among the world's happiest people. Did you know that? Have you ever read the stories behind? They've done it on TV on occasion, and the stories behind lottery winners is not really on the upside. Now, there are some good stories in there, but the majority of these people don't turn out well. They tell stories of despair and loss. In most cases, the wealth ruins the relationships in the family, destroys some families. And very often these people come around and say they wish they'd never won the money at all. Jack Whitaker of West Virginia won $315 million in a lottery. He was robbed of $545,000 in his car outside a strip club. There's a backstory, and you know what it is. He went broke, and he lost a daughter and a granddaughter to drug overdose. In the end, he and his wife both say they wish they'd torn up the tickets. Sandra Hayes of Missouri split $224 million Powerball kind of winnings with 12 co-workers. She said the money ruined her relationships, both with friends and with family, and that she was constantly trying to get money from her, and they were turning into vampires, trying to suck the life out of her. Abraham Shakespeare of Florida won $30 million jackpot and was murdered not long after, shot twice in the chest, buried in the backyard. Who did that? A friend that Shakespeare made after winning the lotto. Shakespeare's brother said the lotto winner often said, I'd have been better off broke. And I told you last week about the woman who won the lottery and now her pastor is suing her for $10 million. Remember that story? It seems that winning the lottery doesn't actually make you a winner, and that the losers are often far better off. Now, you can't tell that to people who have no money and they have a lot of bills and credit card debt and all the rest of them. They just want to get out. They think it's all going to make their life better, but it doesn't really work that way. Something for nothing rarely turns out good. Now, in this world, it is possible that it could. But as to the next, you can't take it with you when you go. And the Bible doesn't applaud getting something for nothing, gambling. The Bible's against it, actually. The Bible applauds honest work as the road to peace and satisfaction. It's a sin against God to gamble. And it doesn't produce anything positive. A fleeting joy, a bunch of good toys, but generally there's an enduring remorse. Over in the United Kingdom, apparently churches have been struggling to maintain attendance. That's always fascinating to me. I was a pastor for 40 years. Never once did I struggle to maintain attendance. That just didn't seem to be what this was about. But that's how they put this. And they have found a way to bring in more attendees, not members. They're not winning people to Christ. They're bringing in more attendees. And they're doing it by renewing the old choral evensong music. And they write this as if the rest of us know what that means. You know what it is? I didn't know what it was. I had to look it up. Now, according to ChristianToday.com, no, it's not ChristianityToday.com, it's ChristianToday.com. The website says choral evensong music has been around for centuries as part of church worship music. And the renewal of this particular music is revitalizing churches around Britain. A new website has even been set up to allow people to search and find choral evensong performances that might be happening near them. The website is reportedly receiving 11,500 visitors a month, and that number is only increasing. A total of 481 churches, chapels, and cathedrals are offering the choral music performances, and more churches are added to that list all the time. The performances have a huge boost to the church in terms of attendance. One London church only had 10 people before this thing started, and now they have regularly 200 attendees. Even atheists are coming out to hear the music. Well-known atheist Richard Dawkins says, "I have a certain love for evensong." Church leaders are hopeful that those who do not regularly attend church services, but who are attending the choral evensong performances, will develop an interest and establish a relationship with a local church and continue to come. So what is evensong? What kind of music and what are they doing? Well, it's classical music. And no, it's not strictly religious classical type music. It's just simply classical music. And with this, they're hoping that more people would get involved with church. Only 6% of Brits attend church. Did you know that? 6%. We in America, if they do the polls come out and tell us that, upwards of 70-80% of us are in church in America. But those are polls where people are asked and they lie. The more objective polls will tell you that it's closer to 40%. And they will also tell you that Americans exaggerate their church attendance. I often get emails or phone calls or requests in one form or another from friends or from viewers of the Bible Forum asking me, "Can you recommend a church in my neighborhood? You know any churches where I live?" That's not an uncommon question today. And to tell you the truth, it's very hard to suggest one. Here, a little bit closer to home, in Durham, North Carolina, a Confederate statue was torn down last week, or maybe the week before that. Did you hear about it? You probably didn't. It wasn't on ABC, it wasn't on NBC, CBS, CNN, MSNBC, and it wasn't on Fox. Why? Well, it's not news. It's happening everywhere. But everywhere it happens, we're told about it, aren't we? Yeah, pretty much. Of the 4 people charged in this crime, 3 of them are members of the Communist Party. I saw pictures of 3 people of the 4. I don't know who the 4th was, but the 3 that were shown were black. At least their skin color was. And they were touted as members of a black separatist kind of organization of one sort or another. But upon closer investigation, 3 out of the 4 were members of the Communist Party. The protests were organized in part by the Communist Workers' World Party. According to ABC News, Workers' World Party is fighting to bring about a socialist America. I'm shocked, aren't you? It's a communist party that was founded in 1959 by a group led by Sam Marcy of the Socialist Workers' Party. The party is active in Black Lives Matter movement and supports the struggles of lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer community. The group says they are, quote, dedicated to organizing and fighting for a socialist revolution in the United States and around the world. The group says it destroyed the statue hoping to, quote, take down white supremacy. On Facebook, the communist group has called for the abolition of police and the abolition of prisons. Oh, and they're also supporting North Korea, Cuba, Venezuela, Black Lives Matter, and workers' parties around the world, both past and present, including ISIS. Not everything you see, not everything you read is the real truth. There's a subtext here, and you have to be alert and pay attention.